In this chapter of the video series, I'm going to describe how to define and instantiate window components, that is, components that implement the native window interface and can float freely, independently of the main application window. I'll be showing you how to create these window components, how to instantiate them, how to control the window appearance, control the order of display on the screen, and many other facets of window management. If you're following along with the exercises, go to Flex Builder and import a Flex project archive. From the menu, select File, Import, Flex Project. Click the Browse button next to Archive File. Navigate to the Chapter 06 folder underneath the Exercises area and import the file Chapter 06 Begin Project.zip. Once the project has been imported, open it in the Flex Navigator view. Open the source folder, and then open the application file displaywindow.mxml. This is a beginning application with just a little bit of code. There are two empty ActionScript functions named OpenWindow and CloseWindow, and two buttons whose click events result in calling these functions. To create a native window in Flex, you create a custom MXML component that's extended from the window class. The window class is similar to the windowed application class. It represents a rectangular area that's actually an operating system-specific native window rather than a simple Flex container. When you open a window component, it results in creating a pop-up window that floats independently of the rest of the application. As with all custom Flex components, I recommend that you create these components in subfolders of your project rather than in the project source root. In the project Chapter 06 Begin, there's already a folder named Windows. All of the native window components I create in this chapter will be placed in this folder. To create a new native window component, go to the project, right-click on the Windows folder or Control-click on the Mac, and select New MXML Component. As with all MXML components, the file name determines the class name. Give this new component a file name of mynativewindow.mxml. In the Based On selector, select Window. As with all Flex components, you can either set the width and height to absolute values, or if you leave them blank, the window will set its height dynamically to accommodate its child objects. Also, as with the panel, title window, and the application component, the window component supports the layout property, which you can set to values of either absolute, vertical, or horizontal. For this first window component, set the layout to a value of absolute, and click Finish. Notice that the custom component code is simply an MXML component with the root element of mx:window. As I mentioned earlier, the layout property and the height and width are set in the window component. There's also a property you can set here called title. The title property determines the value on the title bar of the window when it appears on screen. So give this window a title property of myNativeWindow. Next, create a label component within the window. Give it a text property once again of myNativeWindow, and set its font size to 14 pixels and its font weight to bold. Also, to make the label center automatically in the window, use constraint properties of vertical center set to 0 and horizontal center also set to 0. Save your changes. That'll be your first native window component. Now go to the application displaywindow.mxml. Place the cursor in the Open Window function. I'm going to maximize the editor to see all of the code. In order to open a window, you first instantiate the component. In order to be able to control the window object from any code in the application, declare the variable that references the window outside of any functions. Place the cursor above the Open Window function and make some space. Then declare a new private var named Win, and data type it as an instance of the class myNativeWindow. Notice as I select the class from the list of available classes, Flex Builder automatically creates an import statement. As with all Flex components and ActionScript classes, you can import the class and then you can reference it only by its class name. Now go to the Open Window function. I've declared the Win variable, which is an instance of myNativeWindow, but I still have to instantiate it. So in the Open Window method, I'll call this code. Win equals new myNativeWindow, and I'll construct the object from the myNativeWindow component's automatic noArguments constructor method. Next, I'll open the window on screen using this syntax: win.open. The open method takes an optional argument, openWindowActive. If set to false, that means open the window, but don't make it the currently active window. If you leave this argument out or you set the value to true, the window opens and is automatically active. That is, it automatically has focus in the Windows environment. Because I do want the window to be active, and because that's the automatic default value of this argument, I don't need to pass the value in. I'll save the changes and run the application. I'll click the Open Window button, and you'll see the native window appears on screen. And in contrast to pop-up windows that are completely built within the Flex environment, such as those that are produced by the Alert class, or that you create as custom pop-up windows using the title window or panel containers, this native window floats independently of the rest of the application. I'll close the window and then close the application. Now let's add code to close the window. I'll go to the close window function and call the method win.close. Now after I close the window, I'm also going to set the reference to the window to a value of null. This will ensure that I'm cleaning up after myself, closing down and then destroying references to any existing windows. This sort of good cleanup architecture prevents memory leaks in your application. Save the change, run the application once again, try opening the window, move it off to the side, click back on the application and click Close Window, and you should see that the window closes. Finally, go back to myNativeWindow and go into Design View. I'm going to restore the Design View editor, and then go to the Components view and drag in a button component and place it right under the label. I'll change the label on the button to Close, and then I'll go back to Source View. I'd like to show you that a window can also close itself by calling its own close method. I'll add a click event handler to the button component and then call close. Save the change, go back to the application and run it. Once again, I'll open the window from the application, and this time I'll close the window from the window itself, and then close the application. You can see there would still be some more work to do. For instance, in the close window method, if you tried to close it and it was already closed, you might actually have to check first to see whether it was visible or whether it had been instantiated. Similarly, in the close window method, if the user has not opened the window yet, you have to do a little bit more work to make sure you're not trying to reference a null object. But those are the basics of how to construct a native window and then how to open it and close it using code that's both in the application and in the window component itself.